Thank you very much to be here. I'm Hana Kamea, I'm the manager of the National Center for Dance-Therapy. C'est juste un petit message en français. Si vous souhaitez utiliser l'interprétation simultanée, vous pouvez cliquer sur le bouton interprétation. C'est juste à côté du bouton pour quitter la rencontre, puis sélectionner la langue française. Et vous allez entendre toute la présentation en français. Otherwise, Hana will be presenting in English and answering the questions in English. Even though vous êtes toujours les bienvenus, vous pouvez nous poser vos questions en français. Je vais les traduire pour Hana live. So you can ask your questions in French if you're more comfortable, and I'll translate them to Hana in English. So today, the webinar is being funded by the RBC Foundation RBC, the RBC Foundation, and they actually allow us to offer this whole series of webinars for free. We all have more webinars coming up, so you can check our website, you can sign up for our newsletters to be informed of new events. Throughout the webinar, you won't be able to turn your camera or microphone on in case you're wondering. Because, well, we chose the webinar format. You can, however, comment and react to what Hana is presenting in the chat. And there is a Q&A box, and just next to the chat that you can use to ask your questions. You can also vote for the questions you like. We're going to try to prioritize questions that have been voted by more people. So that way, if you see someone has asked a question you also want to know the answer to, just feel free to like it. And Hana will be presenting for about 1 hour, and after that we answer questions at the end. So I think that's all. I leave the stage to Hana now for presentation. Thank you again for being here, and if you have any comments, questions, you need help with anything technical, please use the chat and we'll be happy to help you. Have a good webinar.
Thank you so much, Anna and Le Grand Ballet and the National Center for Dance Therapy. My name is Hana Kamea. I hope you can hear me okay. I think that Anna can let me know if not. And I am coming to you today from British Columbia, from quite a remote region at Tatleoka Lake. And from time to time, we have some internet issues here, internet glitches. So I'm really hoping that this will present well today. And if I'm speaking too fast, please feel free to let me know, but it's a great honor to be here with you. So I guess I will just say quickly, just a note on taking care of yourself physically today. I'm going to offer some movement for us to engage in. And so please don't do anything that is not comfortable for you. I have designed some movement experiences that are accessible. You can do them from a chair, you can do them lying down, standing, whatever's comfortable for you. So please find your comfort and also emotional safety. If anything does not feel comfortable, please do not engage in that activity. So thank you. Anna, do I need to say anything about my background a little bit, or people are fairly familiar, I think, with
we shared it was on the website, but I guess if you want to just explain quickly what you've done.
Yes, so I have been a dance movement therapist since my late 20s, and I studied dance therapy for 3 years at Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. And I've worked in a variety of settings, from inpatient psychiatric care to outward bound, integrating wilderness therapy with movement therapy. I've worked with students in schools. I've worked in a center for children with developmental disabilities. So a lot of different work over the years in different contexts. So if you have questions at the end of my presentation about working with specific populations or a certain case, you could feel free to ask me questions and I'll see if I can offer something to you from my experience. Let's see here. So I think I'm going to jump into the PowerPoint. Screen share. There we go. And we'll just begin here. and welcome everybody. I know we have a big group here, diverse backgrounds. So again, thank you to the Center for having me on. And I'm just doing a short presentation on dance movement therapy for children. And this is drawing from my practice and my work with children, but also and families, and also drawing from the films, which I have created the last 10 years called The Moving Child. And we have 3 films that are available, and we will share more information about those in a little bit. Okay. So I just wanted to take a moment to honor the lineage that I come from. First of all, the dance movement therapy pioneers. There are many of them through the decades, going back to the 40s. And of course, previous to that, for millennia, people from all over the world, medicine people, traditional healers, have been using dance and movement for healing for millennia. So I want to name them and honor that lineage, that knowledge. Some of my teachers include from Body Mind Centering, the founder, Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen, her student, Susan Aposhin, different teachers in the dance therapy world, Christine Caldwell, Ryan Kennedy being 2 of them, Annie Brooke also having been a teacher, Martha Eddy, Kalila Homan, Myrna Martin, Marie-Josée Dessy, who runs the Center for Expressive Therapies on Vancouver Island, is a renowned play therapist. Shirley Turcott from the Indigenous Focusing Oriented Therapy program has also been a teacher, and many others, but I would like to name them, and you can look at those names and you can look up some of those people and read their works as well. So I also just want to take a moment, we're in this cultural context of need to be always honoring diversity in all of its many forms. And I also honor that there is diverse cultural experience in this group today. My blind spot is that I am a white Western woman of privilege whose views and experience may not reflect that of all cultures, subcultures, ages, sexes, gender identities, and abilities. I want to name that. And I also want to name that many of my teachers have also come from that white heterosexual background. So there are blind spots that exist in this knowledge base. And I look forward, if anyone wants to ask a question about this or have a dialogue, that we could speak about this in the context of dance therapy in a little while. So we'll be having a question and answer period, like Anna just said, toward the end of our time together. I've also given you my email, and of course this presentation will be available on the website. So always feel free to reach out. I would love to dialogue further with anybody in this webinar today. So just taking a moment here, we don't have a lot of time. We have an hour to move and see some film clips and learn a little bit about dance therapy. But I wanted to take a moment to honor the psychological researchers and theorists who have also informed my learning, my work, the field of dance movement therapy as well. So, and I'm assuming that most people here also have a basic understanding of what dance movement therapy is. There is a new definition that is coming up onto the ADTA website. That's the American Dance Therapy Association, which integrates more cultural diversity and is just a little bit longer than the original definition. So you can go to that website, and I'll be giving you the link later for a fuller definition of dance therapy. Just to mention a few key people who have impacted my work and impacted the field in the last 30 years. We have the research around the development of the embodied self, specifically that our sense of self first develops as a core self, as an embodied self. Daniel Stern's work was very important in this. His 2 books are mentioned here. And then we have the development of neural integration, the mindfulness work. Dan Siegel has been an influence of mine. He's written a lot. You'll find him all over the internet. He's a wonderful resource. Nonverbal communication research greatly impacted dance movement therapy and the development of the field of somatic psychology, which dance movement therapy falls under the umbrella of, as well as the field of creative arts or expressive arts therapies. So going right back to Darwin to the present time, there are a lot of researchers in that field. Neurobiology and the efficacy of healing trauma in the body has also been very important for our field of movement therapy. There's just a few names here. I won't read them all out, but you can see them here. And Bruce Perry appears in the films. Susan Aposhian does as well. So that's a nice place to be also meeting experts in the field. I have done a 3-year training in attachment psychology, specifically looking at pre and perinatal and early imprints around attachment. So these are some of the other theorists who have also influenced my work and the development of that field of attachment psychology, and many others. And then of course we have the dance therapy journals and the research that is happening within the field of dance movement therapy, which tends to show up in a few different places, including the American Journal of Dance Therapy, which is available, and the Journal of Body Movement and Dance and Psychotherapy coming out of England. And the Arts and Psychotherapy is another good journal to be looking at for current research in dance therapy. And as I go, please be writing your questions down for yourself, and we'll get a chance to chat at the end here. So here's what we're going to be doing a little bit in our hour, a little less than an hour now. We're going to look at some imagery and have you just sort of take in at a sensory level what you notice, what you see as these children are moving, various scenes from the film, number one. And then we're going to do some movement. We'll do some different movement explorations. I've kept those fairly simple, but I hope that they'll be helpful for you. If you're working with children, these are things that you could replicate in your own way. I also thought it would be useful to talk about developmental needs. This is the main lens that I'm looking through whenever I'm working with a child or working with a family, is who's here, and what are the needs that are presenting, and how are those expressing through the moving body, and how are they maybe not, or they're always expressing through the moving body, but what are some other needs that may be there at a family level, or things that I maybe cannot see until I've done some dialogue and more conversation with people that I'm working with. So then we'll look just briefly at some film clips, and we hope those will play okay through Zoom. We will also be giving you some links to go to if they're not playing well through Zoom, that you can just put into your browser and go directly there and be able to see those film clips as a backup. Those film clips contain just a couple of little case studies that are dance movement therapists working with groups. And then if we have time, we will be doing a little animal dance at the end of our time together, and then we'll have our questions and answers. So let's take a moment just to sit back in your chair or stand up, whatever's comfortable for you, and just looking at this series of pictures that I'm going to show you. What do we notice and what do we feel as we are with these children moving? And finding your breath and finding what I call body comfortable. This is a young girl in Atlanta, Georgia. You're going to see the film clip of this Moving in the Spirit group from Atlanta, Georgia, a little bit later. Again, just noticing what stands out. When we work with children, we're noticing how are they moving, what parts of the body are they engaging, What might they be expressing or learning as they're moving? Is there a story? Is there meaning in their movement? Here is a dance movement therapist who's also a mom with her daughter. This is Renee Ortega from New York. Dance movement therapy, being engaged in a classroom setting. What do we notice? What do we feel? Where does our curiosity go as we are with these children? You may notice feelings. You may notice shape change in the body. You may notice use of space. These are children in a classroom setting who are also learning to mirror each other. Mirroring being one of our basic techniques for forming relationship, creating trust, offering accurate reflection for children, which I'll talk about in a moment. So that's the end of our pictures. And maybe for a moment, just if people are interested in using the chat room, maybe folks can, because I'm going to take a look at this chat room. If you could just take a moment to write down anything that you noticed in watching those children moving. And I'm going to take a look at the chat room. Just pause there for a moment. Yes. The smiles of the children, the happiness of the children, big facial expressions lighting up the face. Very important for also healing after an experience of trauma is to re-engage with our face. Full body, laughs, risk-taking, being silly, being creative, efforting, trying. Yes. Finding balance. Yes. I'll just read a few more of these out. Connections happening. Yes. Enjoyment and curiosity in relationship. And movement creating new experiences. Exploring and expressing. And the gaze. Brighty gaze. I like the way you've termed that. Thank you. So people can continue to share there if they like. We're going to get ready in just a moment to go into a movement warm-up here. So I'm going to close that chat just for myself and come back here. Anna is going to get ready in a moment to cue up some music for us. So where do we begin in our embodiment? Well, we begin in utero. We begin pre-cellular and then cellular. And one of the key things that I like to teach about and which I've learned about through the years and through my attachment psychology training as well and experience is that we begin in patterns of movement, and we begin with early imprints that are coming in to build our nervous system, our body. So I thought we might explore this a little bit in movement today. And that always our movement develops in relationship with our environment. We develop in relationship with fluids to begin with soft tissue, the felt sense of that as we grow into that with our body. We are in relationship, of course, within the body of our mother, and other caregivers are also influencing our development, our siblings, our family, our culture. So there's a lot going on in terms of how our moving body is developing in relationship. So right now, you are in relationship with whatever room you're in. Maybe you're with somebody, maybe you're not. In relationship with yourself. And I thought we would begin with a basic movement pattern, which is simply the opening and closing of our body in relationship to our breath. There may be other rhythms that we're sensing inside of our body or things that we're responding to that are initiating our desire to move. But being moved by desire becomes important in our work with children, following where they want to go, noticing where we want to go in our own movement response, and being in relationship with them. Being able to open and close our body can be very regulating. This pattern engages primitive reflexes that we'll talk about in a moment. It can also support us to have a full sense of connection through our whole body, so that we feel that we're moving as a whole, that we are whole, and can also be very organizing neurologically to connect with different parts of the body, have to coordinate their movement, and just connect with our interoception, allow ourselves to move. So we're going to play with this piece of music with just moving inward and moving outward, growing and shrinking, expanding and contracting. We might also call that exerting and recuperating. We're always in a rhythmic flow, and I wanted to invite you to find your flow. Find your rhythm that you wish to move in at this moment. It could be faster, slower. You might want to become really big. You might want to stay a little more small, but just attuning to yourself and just seeing how do you want to move in this moment. So, I'm going to, from time to time, give you a few little cues with my voice, but we're otherwise going to listen to this piece of music. And this is a song called 10,000 Steps. And I think we're ready now for the music. It's hard not to be able to see you all, but I just trust you're all enjoying moving at home or in your office.
Can you hear it well?
Yes. Great. So find a place where you can move a little bit. It could be standing up, it could be on your chair, it could be lying down on the floor, on a physio ball, whatever feels good. And then just begin to follow your breath in and out. You may notice your breath in your tummy. You can close your eyes or have them open. Following the breath. And noticing the movement of the breath. Through your body. And then as if you were an amoeba or a jellyfish, playing with the growing and shrinking, the opening and closing, any part of your body. Maybe you feel it in your hands, the opening and the closing. Connected to the breath. And just follow your own body's desire to change shape. Allowing your legs and feet to participate. Allowing your torso. Always with the support of the breath. Moving in and out from your navel center. Feeling the connection between your head and your tail. Your pelvic floor, your tail, all the way through the spine to the head, the face. Allow that to be a part of your movement. Feel the connection through the arms and the hands, the shoulders. Just letting the body grow and shrink, open and close. Just following where the body wants to go. Physically and emotionally safe for you. And just finding an ending now for your dance. Being with the breath, noticing your rhythm. And we can slowly start to fade that music out, Anna. Thank you. Merci.
Sorry, that wasn't slowly fading, but
That's okay. So just take a moment for yourself. Notice how you feel. Having given permission to move a little bit and just to play with that basic movement pattern. Growing and shrinking. Moving toward, moving away. It's good to wake up this in ourselves. It allows us also to see it in the children that we're working with, to notice this pattern. Do they have access to this full range of the continuum of the polarity getting really, really, really big, getting really, really, really small, being able to move through that continuum. So let's have you, for those who want to, write in the chat room just some of the things that you are feeling or experiencing so that you can see that with each other. And then I'm going to pop into the PowerPoint here. You can just be noticing your experience. So you may have noticed that you began to feel just a little more regulated, a little more connected to yourself when we engage with rhythm, when we notice the rhythm that we want to be moving at, or we engage with a rhythmic movement pattern being given to us through the music, for example, or through the dance therapist's creativity. Working with breath flow, finding new ways of breathing, new patterns for breathing. This is some of what I'm working with when I use movement for self-regulation, which is one of our goals, usually in dance therapy for children and families. There are apparently 27 different senses discovered in the human body. So engaging the senses can be very helpful for regulation. We know this from neurobiology. Grounding, using ways to connect with the floor, for example. We can ground through the senses. We can ground in a lot of different ways. Centering in the body, finding our spine, finding our midline, finding our belly button, finding something that gives us a felt sense of centeredness, muscularly, physically, emotionally. Being in relationship, activating our social engagement part of our brain through the ventral vagus nerve pathway. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about that. We only have 25 minutes here, but very important to notice what it's like to just be moving in relationship potentially with someone else, if you were. Using the voice, sounds, and words. This is part of what helps self-regulate, co-regulate, and what we're using in dance movement therapy. Some of the basic actions that I'm using for self-regulation would be yielding, which is the capacity to feel our body, to feel that we're breathing, to feel connected to a surface or someone else or someone's body would be part of yielding. Being able to engage push through our body. So you may have noticed that you were beginning to, as you were growing or as you were shrinking even, you may have felt a little push happening through some part of your body. Reaching, you may have noticed yourself reaching out, supported by that pushing, pulling, grasping in. You may have felt yourself doing that through your endpoints of your nervous system, hands or feet, or the mouth, or the pelvic floor. And then I'm also trying to engage mindfulness and curiosity. So asking you to notice, what do you feel? What do you notice in your body? Would be engaging some mindfulness. And we can just continue to stay curious about our experience. We know that that creates neurotransmitters that are very powerful in the brain and can help to change the brain. I lost my cursor, here we go. So we're going to do another very brief movement exploration now, and we actually don't need to have any music for this. And this comes from developmental movement. So one of the things that I'm often working with in dance therapy is to support patterns of total body connectivity. We begin with the breath. This comes from the field of body-mind centering from Bonnie Cohen's work, as well as others who have contributed to this field. So I'm just going to invite you to come back to your body for a moment, and we're going to continue this opening and closing of the body or some part of the body, whatever that feels like to you. No right or wrong way to do that movement. And I'm just going to give you a few little cues here to support both stability happening in your body, to be able to support mobility. So that's one of the themes that we work with in dance therapy and lab on movement analysis, is this relationship between our stability and our mobility. That is a theme that can be worked with physically, emotionally, socially. So many different layers can come in when we work with that theme. So I'm going to invite you to, again, wherever you are, if you're in a wheelchair, be in the chair. If you're standing, go ahead and stand up. If you're lying on the floor, you could also do this pattern lying down. But I'm going to just give you a little bit of a cue here, just with my own body. Tilt my computer up a little bit there. So finding our navel center, we're just going to play a little bit with this first pattern. If we trace from one hand from the navel center out, one arm to the hand and back in, this is part of our core distal patterning. So it's like a starfish. I'm going to trace the other. I can do it this way as well. I don't have to take my arm out. Hopefully you can see me okay. I'm going to move slowly. We can also trace the patterns from the navel center down the legs to the feet. Go ahead and do that now if you like. And then back in. Can also just support that connection between the navel center and the tail, pelvic floor. And then the navel center up through the face and the top of the head. So these are some of the key nerve pathways and connections through the body supporting this starfish-like movement pattern. So if you like, you can just be reaching out with all your limbs and then be pulling everything into the navel center. And then on your next breath, taking it big again. So again, opening, closing of the body using our starfish. And just play with that a little bit. Let yourself dance it, whatever feels good. Good. Then let's play for a moment with our spinal connection. So just letting your head and tail come together. You can play with different flexion and extension through the body. Feel the connection between the head and tail. Take a moment there to let that dance happen. Good. Then we'll take a moment here to feel the upper body moving as a unit. Pushing, reaching, pulling. The lower body moving as a unit. You can bend your legs, you can push. Good. There's lots of different ways to wake up these patterns. This is a very simple movement exploration we're doing. And now let's take a moment to feel our homolateral connectivity, which is one side moving while the other side stabilizes. So here we are back at stability, mobility. I'm going to back up a little bit. So we can move a little bit like a lizard. Just beginning to make those connections happen for you. We could work with opening one side of the body, closing. You could move one side of your body in all different ways while the other side is stable. And lastly, we come to the contralateral. So that's any kind of movement that supports the crossing of the midline, the connection as well between opposite arm and leg. Salsa dance would be a great example of a cross-lateral connectivity. So just waking up that connection for yourself, just walking, running engages it. Lots of different ways to wake those up. And then just take a moment to rest or keep moving as you like. And I'm going to keep flowing here with our PowerPoint just in the interest of time. So here we see some babies who are moving in different patterns. This is from our third film, The Moving Child 3. And we also see some examples from the animal world of these different movement patterns coming through the bodies of these animals. And this goes into lots of detail in our third film. I'm not sure we're going to have a lot of, I may come back to this movement exploration in just a moment. I'm just going to move us through this. Yeah, we'll come back to this. We're going to be dancing the elements. Anna, how are we doing for time? Can you cue me for a moment?
You're already gonna have 17 minutes, but I think if you finish a bit later, like it's gonna be fine.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we'll go ahead and we will do this movement exploration because it won't take too long. I wanted to give everybody a little example of a type of dynamic movement exploration that I might engage in with a child. We might do all of these. We might do one of these different elements from nature. These can be very helpful to allow a child to become some part of nature in order, especially if they're afraid of something. They might be afraid of sound or the wind or a storm. They can become these things that they are afraid of. They can get to move them through their body and be supported by that. In dance therapy, we're looking for any and all ways to support dynamic movement and to, again, allow a child to have a full spectrum in their movement repertoire from different continuums of movement that we look at in movement analysis. So we are going to have a little dance here where I invite you to become elements of nature. And Anna is going to go ahead and play us a piece of music from the Lord of the Rings. So I invite you to begin by becoming a rock. Any kind of rock you might like to be. You might be enclosed, you might be open like a mountain. Any kind of shape of a rock. Feel that stillness. Feel that strength through your body. And let's say your rock is in the ocean. And it is beginning to feel the movement of the water now coming through. The movement of the waves. Just allowing yourself to become a wave. Or be moved by the waves. Maybe you're a big crashing wave. Letting yourself become any kind of water you want to be. You want to be a river? Let yourself move in your space. Are you a waterfall? Maybe you have a scarf with you could pick up and dance with. And then the water begins to feel the wind. The wind is coming. The wind is moving through you, is moving your body. And you're being spun. And you're being lifted. You feel that lightness through your whole body. Twisting and turning and floating. The wind is getting stronger and a storm is coming. Let yourself be the storm. Let yourself get loud and get big and get scary. And storm everywhere. And with that storm comes lightning and fire. And let your body be the lightning. Let it directly pierce the earth or a tree, something in your environment. And the fire comes through your body and it's hot, maybe tingly. Let it move through you, come through your fingertips, come through your toes, come through your face. And then another big bolt of lightning, which you are, strikes the earth. And you go into the earth now. You become the earth. Maybe lie down. And you feel the grass begin to grow. Or a flower coming through your body. Or a tree. And you let your roots sink into that deep, rich, moist earth. And you let your rest of your body become the arms of the tree, the flowers, the leaves. And you reach to the sky. Take in the whole sky. And we can fade out that music now. Thanks, Anna. And then you're going to now, slowly on your own rhythm, you're going to retreat. So there are a lot of elements to move through. You're going to retreat and you're going to go into your cave. You're going to tuck back into yourself. Maybe you want to change your shape, imagining you're inside a cave. Maybe you want to close your eyes for a moment, feeling your own breath. Maybe you put a hand on your chest or on your tummy. Feel yourself calming and slowing down. Feel the protection and the rest, being inside your own shelter, in your cave. Okay. And then slowly beginning to transition. I'm just going to keep going here, but notice for yourself how you feel having moved in some different ways with some different intensities, some different speeds maybe came through as well. This is part of what we're offering children. So I'll go back to my screen share. Okay. See that? Okay. So we just completed our movement exploration there, and you'll have these notes later if you want to return to those. That was the Lord of the Rings. So just continuing our conversation here about how movement supports development, because this is really what we're working with in dance therapy for children. We have a lot of different developmental needs, hundreds. And everyone's doing their best to meet them. And sometimes they're not being met. So what we're looking for again in dance therapy is what needs are being met, what needs are not being met, what needs could be strengthened. And how might we do that? Just a few images there to look at. Some different scenes from the Moving Child films. We're meeting needs physically, emotionally, socially, and cognitively. I'd like everyone just to take a moment to think of one need that we have in our development in childhood. What is just one need? Just take a moment for yourself to think about that. You can throw it in the chat room if you would like to. I'm not going to look right now, but your colleagues will. So Rudolf Laban, founder of Laban Movement Analysis, and I'm going to use his direct quote, but I'm also going to substitute humans move in order to satisfy needs. Movement satisfies needs we have as human beings living in bodies, and needs are also expressed through our moving body. This is what I'm asking you to do right now. Just take a moment to think of one. And let's just look very briefly at a quick list. Attachment and bonding, a felt sense of trust, belonging, connection. This is what we can provide through dance movement therapy. Nourishment, a physical sense of nourishment, an emotional sense, we can provide that. We have a need to move, to process, to motor out after sensory input has come in to our brain. We have to digest that sensory input. We have to be able to respond with our moving body. This is something that's not happening enough these days for many children. There is a sensory overload, a sensory bombardment of their nervous systems going on, and there's a lot that is not getting processed. Need for soothing, both co and self-regulation, achieving balance. Our biosexual development is important. For those familiar with the Kestenberg movement profile, otherwise known as the KMP, we have the tension flow rhythms that are named in that movement system. Communication, need to be understood, self-expression, play, creativity. We need to feel that sense of agency and power as experienced through the body. We need to be seen, acknowledged, have attention given to us. Also available through dance movement therapy and by coaching families to support children in these needs, in these areas. I love to give parents a needs list just so they can be reminded of all of the different needs that their children have to develop skills physically, emotionally, socially, and mentally. This is our need as we're growing up. So let's go now to some film clips, and we hope that these will play okay. If they're not playing well for you through Zoom, in the chat room, I believe, do we have that queued up now, Anna? Or Eugenie? Is some links that you can just directly cut and paste into your browser and also go and watch those film clips if that is easier for you. But we're going to be watching Rena Kornblum's film. Disarming the Playground is her program that she offers and is offered throughout the US as well as Canada and many schools now. And that's normal neurotic children, some with special needs. And then we're also going to see a short clip of the Moving in the Spirit program from Atlanta, Georgia, Sharni Furqan and Laurie Jones, two dance therapists working there. Let's watch for needs that are being met through these case studies of dance movement therapy.
So the links are coming, and meanwhile, I'm going to share.
And I'm going, yeah, I'll just read the chat room. This is great. Thanks for everybody's contributions here. Okay.
So you can see now. This is Rena's clip.
We've been experimenting with the movement therapy group. I think we've done about 8 or 10 weeks, and it has really made a huge difference with my classroom.
I want to be able to send kids back to class, being able to function in their classroom. I want to see them be at a calm, alert energy is what I call it. Our job is to stay focused on the ooze tube. If we start to laugh, what message are we going to give ourselves?
Refocus.
Okay, I can refocus. If you need even to put your hands on your head to wake up your brain, you can feel free to do that. You don't have to.
You know, they need to take charge of their bodies. That's a strength. Giving them that self-skill of knowing when their energy is too high or they're too angry and what they can do about it so they don't hurt themselves or hurt others. Or what's valuable to them sometimes is not getting in trouble in school.
We have, between my class and the other class I work with, we have 36 students, and out of that, I think we have 10 special ed kids. And so with those students in particular, it's given us a lot of tools to work with them. There's one student in particular that I'd like to mention who, he's one of my smartest kids, but he just can't concentrate to get his work done. And after one particular movement class, when we were doing the scarves and the mirroring, he came in and we did the same thing we did after movement class every week. And instead of being the last one done or not getting done, he was the first one done by far. And so I started asking around about that, and some of the concentration on the movement and crossing the midline, with some of the movement really helped get his brain in gear. And so since then, we've been doing more and more of that.
So that was the first one, and sure.
Just as you're queuing that up there, Anna.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had a small computer issue.
That was just a very brief example of Rena Kornblum's program, The Disarming the Playground. And we're going to go to a longer segment now.
And here it is.
Moving in the Spirit integrates modern dance, dance therapy, choreography, and youth development goals.
We use dance and movement to help self-regulate and transition children in a variety of states.
Genevieve, how do you feel? Happy. Can we see a happy shape?
We have them shape their feelings because it helps them connect the mind and the body. They are able to process. Let me process, how do I feel, check in. It's giving them a voice.
Thank you. She asked me, how do I feel? I feel fabulous. You want to see my fabulous shape? Fabulous shape.
Take a picture, take a picture.
Okay.
And the youth development goals that we are looking at or trying to improve: emotional competence, social competence, behavioral competence, resiliency, and self-identity.
They have the control of moving and matching whatever they're thinking, their cognition and their feelings to movement. It gives them the power. I control this, my movements matter. Like I can be sad in a droopy state and go inward, and then at the next instant, like, oh, if we kind of ask, like, okay, well, what would your body be doing if you were happy and cheerful, and if your shoulders were broad and your chin was up? They can do that and be like, oh, notice the change. Like, okay, the movement, the change from one state to another, the movement from one feeling to the other, it's in your power. You have the control to do that.
I was so impressed. I just said, my granddaughter, once she turns 3, has to be a part of this phenomenal program. She loves the program. She comes home, she's doing dance moves, she's excited. If you're sad, she brings the sunshine, which is something that they do in the group. They pass the sunshine along for anyone who's having a rough day.
I think dance and movement is useful for children because it allows them to feel their aliveness as fully as they can.
Dancing is special. Dancing is different than sports. It's different than any other kind of movement we might do because of the way that it brings together all these different elements of movement. There's all kinds of different dynamics of movement that happen when we're dancing. There's rhythm, there's synchrony of bodies moving together. There's relationship to time and space and weight and flow. All of these things are getting developed when we're dancing together.
In all cultures, movement and dance is essential to the development of a person, to the development of that culture.
It's no surprise that cultures all over the planet independently converged on the use of dance and drumming and music as part of their healing rituals. And they did that because it worked. And we've used it literally with hundreds of children to help them become better regulated, to help them go from being tuned up and hypervigilant and not being able to sleep and not being able to concentrate to being able to focus, to sleep, to learn, and to develop social and emotional skills.
It's good to dance because our body needs to move, and we love that.
Children are communicating a lot through their movement. They communicate their needs. So movement really shows us that there's an emotional need, a physical need, a spiritual need.
I feel that it's the combination of both movement and emotion that comes up, that we're not just moving for the sake of moving, but that our movement through dance, through music, carries our deepest feelings.
In terms of movement, I think the thing that I'm most wanting to offer parents is the opportunity and the understanding that in order to really connect with their children, they have to engage in the movement with them.
And so the bottom line is this, is that your presence matters, and the way in which you are present matters.
We do want our children to be happy. We do want them to be comfortable. We do want them to be well and thrive. The bonding is the key, the love to whatever our life holds, and it doesn't require perfection. The perfection is being the way that we are. That is the perfection.
Thank you, Anna. That's great. I hope people enjoyed those few scenes. The last clip that we showed you was the moving spirit heading into the end of the Moving Child 1 film. So you saw some different people there, heard different voices. Those are all people that you meet in the film. So if anyone's interested, you can head to the website. We'll give you the link in a moment and take a look at the whole film. Okay, so I am going to head back to the PowerPoint for just a moment. We'll take a little more time here, and then we will move into questions in a little bit. Okay. So you may have noticed some needs being met there in those clips that we just saw. I just wanted to name a couple of points around moving for physical development as we engage with it in dance therapy. I've mentioned primitive reflexes. These are some of the advantages to dance and to moving in particular ways that we'd be facilitating in movement therapy would be to integrate these reflexes and to bring them on board if they aren't showing up in children's bodies. Again, the developmental movement patterns, I've spoken about those supporting connectivity, coordination, organization for future development in the younger years. The rhythms also need integrating, need expressing. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail there right now, but just know that that's available as part of our study in dance therapy. Movement development is what we're working on physically. Again, having access to that big range of functional and expressive movement elements and qualities. So that, and really in dance therapy, what is different is that we're not just looking at sort of typical motor development, we're really looking at the development of movement qualities, which relate to behavior and relate to being in the world. I'm going to move fairly quickly through these. So again, just another little picture of a child developing his body physically, which supports him emotionally, socially, and cognitively. And that's just a picture from our third film. Moving for emotional development. Our feelings are designed to move. This is our neurobiology. So in dance therapy, what we're looking at is how do we support the movement of our feelings in a way that doesn't overwhelm the organism, overwhelm the mind, the body, but instead feels good, feels manageable. So we're always working with that regulation for the child and for the parent. I'll talk about that in a moment. Movement elicits feelings through that sensory motor feedback looping going on between the brain and body. There's always emotion getting generated when we move. Also images, memories, emotions are all integrating together. So we're holding space for it all, and we're making use of each of those inputs into the brain and body. We talk a lot in dance therapy about how feelings need the container of the body for expression. So feelings are designed to move through the body. And we also talk a lot about the movement elements that feelings are composed of, primarily our relationship to flow, weight, space, and time. You might remember looking back on the first scene there from Moving in the Spirit, where those two dance therapists are having the children shape their feelings and how much fun they're having with that. So exploring, engaging different ways of moving expands our movement repertoire, which then expands our behavioral and emotional repertoire, especially when we bring it back to awareness and mindfulness of how we're moving and how we're feeling and what's it like to be dancing together in relationship. Moving for social development, just a few quick key points here. You'll see in these film clips that children are engaging socially using movement as the connector. One of you used that word connection before. And one of Rena's questions to her students when she works in classrooms is, this is with an anti-bullying focus, how can we support each other using stretch bands? What are all the different ways that a small group of children could be simply using a stretch band to experience a felt sense of support and connection instead of aggression and violence? Again, a felt sense of boundaries can be experienced through the body. Rena's a great example of this in the film. And we also work a lot with how we can shape our bodies to communicate that we are in relationship. We do this as dance therapists. We support parents to be doing this as well, really using their body to create a container as well. So we can express giving, taking, sharing of weight, supporting, being in reciprocity, and experiencing an interactional synchrony, so important for securing attachment, through dancing as a social skill. So just another quick picture here. Hope I'm not going too fast. Anna, how are things there at your end? This is my last slide.
Perfect, keep going.
Okay, so we're moving for self-expression, we're moving for cognitive development as well. This is just something I was thinking about. What is self-expression? It's bringing the inner experience to the outer world. This is what we can do through movement therapy, through dance. And very important in dance therapy is being received and celebrated in that self-expression. This is huge. Any movement can be self-expressive. So it could be the movement of the eyes. I may reflect that back. But each movement has inherent meaning for each person. And that's a journey, uncovering that and seeing where the meaning is, and also how that's expressing needs for that child. Props can be very helpful for soliciting more self-expression, as can my attunement as a dance movement therapist with that child. A lot of how I'm being with them is going to bring their self-expression forward or shut it down. Same with any adult, of course, parent interacting with child. And then, of course, looking at accurate reflection again, and embodied engagement of myself when dancing or moving with a child. Self-expression can be supported with words, with drawing, with music, with dance ideas or scores, with imagery, stories, and so much more. The work of the dance movement therapist is vast. The different techniques and methods that we employ is very vast. And anytime we're working with someone around their self-expression, remembering it's tender for them, it must be met with compassion. How we move links to how we think and our cognitive capacities. So we're always engaging thinking, reflection, possibly writing, integration of our thinking within that process. And a little picture here. Couple of brief themes with parents. We're using many tools. Our main goal is secure the attachment, secure the connection with the child. This begins with the parent connecting with and regulating their own body. And we have a really nice case study of that in the first and second film. And just a few points here that you can read later, but coaching for ways to secure that bonding, body to body, eye contact, touch, massage, attuning through sound, moving in rhythmic synchrony, moving in different ways as well. One of the things that I most like to offer to parents I'm working with is that they can experience push, experience sword fights, let the aggression come through in playful ways. And we call that creative opposition in attachment theory. The push-pull of relationship, being able to physicalize it and make it enjoyable, integrate it. We also teach about mismatching of movement qualities. So for example, a child may be moving in a way that is complete opposite of sort of the baseline movement of their parent, and that can create problems, issues, conflict. So once we can name that in a very neutral, non-judgmental way for both potentially, then this can give information and provide knowledge and sort of ways to honor the difference, and also ways to coach the parent to potentially be able to better meet that child in their own movement qualities. Couple last points, and this is my last slide. Accurate reflection. We've talked about this a little bit. Using attunement, using mirroring, which we go into a lot of depth about in the film. Just a few key points. What we're doing in dance therapy is we are non-verbally using our body to reflect back to the child, using all of these different aspects of embodiment, shape of the body, gestures, timing, use of space and rhythm. All of those things you can read there. And verbally also reflecting back. So we go back and forth between movement and talking all the time through the sessions. When we reflect verbally back to children, we want to do that in a descriptive way, non-judgmentally, basically wanting to convey, I hear you, I see you, I feel you, I understand you if we do, and allowing your own voice as a therapist to be playful and truly capture that child's expression. That's part of our attunement, our mirroring. I think we may need to let go of our little final dance party. What do you think, Anna? How are we doing with time?
We have 16 minutes left in total, so if we want to have time for questions, I think it's better maybe to skip it.
Let's do some questions right now. Okay, and what we'll be able to do is send people maybe the song link. I can send people the free song link and they can have their own animal dance after our time together. Okay, yeah. So we're going to be sending you a link and you'll have these talking points here just around animal movement. So let's head into our dialogue. What would you all like to know about dance movement therapy for children and families? Any way you're impacted by the presentation or the film clips, I'd love to hear, and any questions that you have. And should we go back to sort of your screen now, Anna?
Yeah, or if you just want to stop sharing. And
yep. Great.
I come up. So we already have a question by Leah that is asking how it was to approach schools, and like, was it hard for the schools to accept the program? Like, how did you work with funding? Like, did they believe in the program? So
that's a really good question. Having worked in schools, I have found them actually quite receptive to having a movement therapist on board or having me come in and just do a short stint from time to time. That's my experience. So obviously when we were filming the shots for the film, we had permission from parents and all of that, if you're speaking about the film in any way. But I think just, have your research behind you if you're a dance therapist asking this question. And meet with the principal, have a curriculum that is tried and true, such as Rena Kornblum's curriculum, Disarming the Playground, or have your own sketch already done up of what you'd like to do. And I think there's just so much potential for dance movement therapy to be used in schools, absolutely, in all different ways, all ages. Yeah, I hope that's enough.
Thank you. We don't have any other questions, so wait, maybe I just wanted to add something to what you said. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say also
Oh,
something.
no, go ahead. I'm just looking at the question.
I haven't seen any in the chat.
I have a quick question, Anna. Are people putting their questions in the chat room or in the Q&A?
In the Q&A. So I monitor the chat. There weren't
okay.
any questions. So anyone here, like, do ask questions because it's your one and only chance. I mean, like, you have Anna's email, but I
Please
think.
do.
And
now we've got
yes,
two new messages.
Yeah.
2 new messages. Oh, that's from you. Okay.
And yeah, by the way, you can always ask questions in French if you feel more comfortable, and like I can just translate them. Like, you don't need to type in English if you prefer to ask in French.
Yes. So Francine, thank you for your comments here. This is something that I learned about from Martha Eddy, and she runs the Center for Kinesthetic Education out of New York. She's a somatic movement therapist, former dancer. And yes, so many senses in the body beyond what we were previously aware of, and things that are really good to know about. Proprioception, very important, interoception, very important senses. So Leah, I can see you've tried different programs with different age groups. Did you notice that it works better in certain groups at school? Well, I currently have a part-time job working in a school, and I work with all ages, so it'll look different. So with the kindergarten group, I'm doing a lot of song and dance and a lot of self-regulation practice and just celebrating self-expression, creative self-expression. In some of the older groups, I'm doing more of a mindfulness curriculum, working with the breath, taking them to the gym, doing sports. It's going to look different for everybody. Thanks for naming that. Good question from Wendy. How would you encourage children who are reluctant to move their bodies? Yes. Well, I would start where they are. So maybe they'd like to wrap up in a blanket. Maybe they would like to engage in a different expressive art if it's too confronting to have to move the body. It's very provocative, as we all know. Movement and dance can quickly generate feelings and emotions. So we need to tread carefully. But I might come alongside, I might listen to music, we might watch a video of some dancers, but really I'm going to want to tune into what is of interest to this child that I'm working with. And it may not be that we move at any point into full-on dance through space, three-dimensional. We may stay in a more still place or a quieter place. And it may be just simply learning about feelings, learning about emotions, maybe how they impact the body, what do they notice in their body. There can be a lot of different ways in to that relationship and what we would call that continuum of movement, again, in dance therapy. I hope that answers your question. But talking, we're always talking in the beginning, or drawing, or walking, finding some way to connect in relationship. But from the get-go, I'm always attuning with them energetically. Thanks, Wendy.
I also have a question for you, Anna. I'm wondering, like, watching the movie, how did COVID impact your programs? Did you like, did it change the way you work? Did you work virtually? Are you still working in person, but with like all the precautions, or like, how does it work?
Yeah, so, well, there's two things there. There's the film, which features a variety of dance therapists working in a whole bunch of different contexts. And I don't know how all of them have been impacted by COVID. For myself, I have gone through various stages this past year, back and forth from the school, sometimes working from home by video or messenger chat, or however we can stay connected, a lot of time on the phone with kids. And then when I'm there in person, it's just so good to be there again and seeing each other and being able to move together. And finally that school is reopened that I'm working at. So yeah. I hope that answers your question in some way. I think it's a real challenge for dance therapists to do our work when we're not able to be there in person. And, you know, puppets, you know, moving together on a video screen, it's all doable. It's all possible. So, yeah, I'm curious what other people have experienced. I know other places have been shut down for longer. So, yeah.
Thank you
Un
for
grand
sharing
merci à vous aussi, Valerie, wherever you are, whoever you are, wherever you're working. Yeah.
So we have another question.
Yes.
How do you maintain the safety and container with children when you're working with them online? A really good one.
That is a great question. Wonderful question. So we can't really maintain the full container of the confidentiality because kids are at home, other siblings are there, maybe other family members are listening. We can try to set that up, I think, by speaking with parents or with the child themselves, depending on how old they are, and just saying, you know, you might want to close your door, you know, just know that our connection is not fully, you know, confidential or secure. It's a real challenge, really, really hard. So I think just going for strengths-based work, recuperation, you know, doing things that are maybe not as deep as you would go, you know, one-on-one in a studio or an office with a door closed. Yeah, really good question. I'm curious how you're doing it, but I don't think we can fully maintain that safety and container when we're working with them online, and it's a big issue. Yeah, we do what we can. Trying our best, exactly, says Hepa or Hepa. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Oh, good. So I'll just read your comment here, Leah or Leah. Inspired to initiate working in schools as a dance movement therapist in Ottawa. Wonderful. I would highly recommend ordering Rena Kornblum's curriculum. She has videos and films you can watch. She's got a beautiful big binder curricula you can order from her. So great. And Lucy is saying, thanks a lot. I understand program is in some school and now you're working on methodic, right? Yeah, methods. And are there just DMT therapists in lessons? Yeah, so my official capacity is part-time school counselor. And so I integrate my work in dance therapy and other expressive arts. I've also trained in play and sound tray therapy into my work in the school. Dance movement therapists are also just purely doing dance therapy in some schools. There's a lot of different work going on, especially in the US and Europe, of course, as well. And a lot of established methods already there. And of course, you know, it's up to each one of us as we work in this field to be creating as we go, because every child is different, every family is different. So we have to use our creativity through our dancing body, through our own embodiment, to provide a really tailored session or tailored service or that kind of thing, also in classrooms. Thank you. Thanks, Lucy. We have 5 minutes left. Do people want to dance a bit more? Or are there more questions?
I don't see any more questions. So should I put on the animals music and like just as a way out?
I want to dance.
And they're saying they want to dance too. So
great. Let's go out dancing today. And I hope this has been useful for you. And again, please be in touch. And just go back to my screen share for just a moment.
Yeah, and when you want to, I'm ready with the animal music.
Great. So I just wanted to pop, let's see, here for 1 second. You'll have this slide, of course, this will be available to you, but just for more information on dance therapy, there's some websites here. I didn't have a chance to look up the Dance Movement Therapy Association of Canada, but just stick that in a Google bar and there'll be lots that pops up. Movingchild.com, you can go to the store if you want a direct link to be able to rent any of those films or download them for your own professional library. Share them with parents, communities. West Coast DMT is my training program in dance therapy. I don't want to compete with the National Center though. We're all together,
working
one
very
big family.
same.
We're a long way away on the West Coast. So, and then please do reach out. So you can just absolutely feel free to shoot an email or let us know how you found the presentation today. Okay.
And again, the presentation will be available on our blog. So you don't need to copy any of these or take notes. It's going to be available for you.
That's right. You'll have the copy of the PowerPoint. And so to end our party today, we're going to do an animal dance. The music is going to guide you through this. And so it's a scaffold for you to move along to. Sometimes that's nice in dance therapy. It moves fairly quickly between transitions. So you can always pause, slow it down, do whatever kind of movement you like. I'm going to suggest that when you hear the spider, you can come onto your hands and your feet on your back and be scurrying that way if you like, just to try a little different movement. And during the chorus, just feel free to dance freely and be any kind of animal you'd like to be. And at the very end, I'll give you a chance to just say goodbye with your body. So instead of waving goodbye, think about how your body might want to say goodbye. Just made that up in that moment. All right, so you're talking with your whole body. Okay, lots of animal songs out there on the internet. Anna's gonna go ahead now and play our dance song. And you can follow along.
I love animals.
Bring up the volume.
I do. Some look scary and some are cute. They're our friends and our family too. So let's move and dance with them, me and you. First, touch your head and find your tail. Sink down low, tucked in like a snail. Is your tail tucked in? Rolling slug, rolls and slugs, rolling right into a puddle of mud. Slithering snakes, slither in the sand and feel snaky in your hands. Slippery fish, swish, swish, swish. Swimming through the sea, swish our head and swish our feet. Freckled frog, hop, hop, hop. Freckled frog, hop so high she can't stop. I love animals, yes I do. Some look scary and some are cute. They're our friends and our family too. We can feel them in our bodies, me and you. Kitty cat, meow, meow, meow. Kitty cat licks his paws and crawls all around. Puppy dog, bow, wow, wow. Puppy dog shakes her tail to say, howdy, how, how. Elephant trunk, honk, heavy honk. Elephant, swing your trunks up and down to the funk. Hurried horse, trot to trot to trot. Gallops with her legs so fast and slows to find her spot. I love animals, yes I do. Some look scary and some look cute. They're all friends and our family too. They're here inside of us, me and you. Busy bee, buzz, buzz, buzz. Flies with her sticky honey feet into a flower's fuzz. Spiders on their backs with 6 furry legs. Scurrying over the floor, all over the place. Woodpecker birdie goes tap, tap, tap. Tap to tap to tap, tap to get some sap. Eagle bird spreads her wings. Reaches her arms out wide to fly and sing. I love animals, yes I do. Some look scary and some are cute. They're
whole body. Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank
Merci
you.
beaucoup. May you all be well.
Thank you very much, Hannah. It was great. And thank you everyone for attending. I hope you enjoyed it. And just a little like logistical thing, but like Eugenia shared a survey in the chat, so feel free to add your comments and impressions about the event in there. And I'll also send you an email with that tomorrow, so don't worry. You don't have time now.
Thank you so much to RBC for sponsoring this event, and to the National Dance Therapy Center, and to you and all the staff here. Chantal, Eugenie, thank you.
Thanks to you, Hannah, and do go and check out their movies. They're incredible. I mean, you've seen a small part of it, but there's like 3 movies, like long movies like that. So
thanks.
Have a good night, everyone, and good afternoon to Hannah in DC. Bye.
Lovely to dance with you all.